Sup nerds, today we have the finals from my locals from this past Friday night. It is my purple Cherubimon hybrid deck list versus yellow hybrid. My opponent does win the die rolls. They start out by hatching Xiaomon, digivolving into Gazimon, and then playing a Boko, searching the top 5. They don't hit a Tamer, but they do, or I'm sorry, they do hit a Tamer, but they do not hit a hybrid. Also, guys, make sure to like and subscribe if you're interested in this kind of content. And check out our giveaway. We are giving away a box of BT6. The link for that is in the description. And also check out our Discord as well. I start by hatching my Upamon, digivolving into Bushi Agumon, and playing my own Bokomon. Get to grab... I have a choice of 2 Tamers and 2 hybrids. I'm going to grab the Matt and the Loimon. Also, if you are given a choice with this deck, you in early game, you want to digivolve the Bushi on top of your Upamon because you want to be able to just swing with those guys and just get them in your trash. And then whenever you're at 3 or fewer is when you want to start digivolving into your Salamons. And then I go ahead and play the Mimi to put my opponent to 2. And he plays his Zoe to put me to 1 and does not have a hybrid in his security. Very cool. So in the yellow hybrid matchup, you don't really want to poke at them very much. You can poke at them like one time, but you want to avoid it, especially if they put a TK and Kari out. Because you don't want to start just giving them like infinite extra memory every turn. He hatches a Xiaomon and digivolves into Tapermon. Then he's going to digivolve into Zephyr, pays 2 and then gains 2, and then swings over the Bushi. I went ahead and poked there because I didn't really fear him dropping a TK and Kari. And even if he did, I knew he'd probably recover at least once, which he did on this turn. So he goes into Jet Sylphimon for 1, recovers 1, and then plays a TK to put me to 4 and adds a Shine Greymon to his hand. So he's back to 5 security. And I go ahead and digivolve into another Bushi, even though I have like 2 Salas in my hand. Like I said, you want to get your Bushis in your trash. So just digivolving those and promoting those early is definitely the play. It's unfortunate that he has a Gazimon on the field, since I do have a Bokomon. But right now I haven't seen TK and Kari, so I am just poking him. And just keep him at 4. Like, I don't really want to put him at 3 because then it's hard for me to stay at the same number of security as him. Because he's most likely going to go into Jet Sylphimon at some point, so like he'd only get the TK and Kari for like 1 or 2 turns, even if he did just play it on this next turn. I digivolve into Loimon for 2, and then digivolve into Rihimon, crash into the Jet Sylphy, and then Rihimon effect triggers and plays the Mimi back to my field. Pretty cool interaction there. And then I get to play my Matt, put him to 3, and then add the Rihimon back to my hand. But yeah, everything in this deck is free. Like, your resources are all going to come back to your hand or your field. He crashes his Taper into my Boko, gets to draw a card from Taper effect. He's putting the rookies in my trash, just how I want them to be, so this is not a big deal to me. Digivolves into a Kazumon, and then pays 2, gains 2 back from the Boko. Goes into another Jet Sylphy. Recovers again, now he's back at 5. And here is the TK and Kari. So now I'm not going to poke him anymore. Now we're done poking. Especially since he's gone through 2 Jet Sylphies. So that's 50% of the Jet Sylphies that are in his deck. I consider not promoting here because I know that there's a good chance that he can just remove it. But at the same time, I don't really have a reason not to just put it out in the battle area, because even if he kills it, I don't care. Because I get to Digivolve and draw a card off the Sala on the next turn if I promote on this turn. And at this point, he's going a little too wide for me. I'm not a huge fan. So I Schwartz his Boko and his Jet Sylphie. His Gazi's not really doing anything like proactive for him. So I just leave it on the field. It's just an annoying card at this point. Like, it's not really a huge issue for me. I'd rather get the Boko and the Jet Sylphie off the field. I don't tap my Mimi because he has a memory setter, so he goes to 3 regardless. And he goes into a Zephyr and another Jet Sylphie, so that's 3 Jet Sylphies he's gone through so far. And then he goes into a Seraphimon to recover again. So now he's at 7 security, so now I can poke him a little bit. Which you definitely want to do. You don't want them to just go to like 10 security. If you hit Tamers, whatever, it's not really a huge deal. It's unfortunate, but you know, it's going to happen. Swing with the Bushi and check a Zephyr, I believe. So he does die. Not a big deal. Him being in the trash is really cool. You get to play him for free off the Cherub. Digivolve my Matt into Loimon for 2. And Digivolve into Rihimon for 1. Then I swing security for 7. Check a 5k and I do survive. He doesn't have any boosts in his security right now. So I'm gonna Calling from Darkness my Rihi to add back the Loimons. I tap the Mimi to go back to 0, and then Rihimon puts Matt back on the field, and Matt grabs the Rihimon back to my hand. So I just got to put him back down to 5 security, and I didn't actually lose any resources here. And I play a Koichi to set him to 3, and Koichi's effect triggers draw 1, trash 1, and I just trash a Bokomon just to get as many cool rookies in my trash as possible. He swings with Taper, hits a Matt. Very nice. Now I get to add the Calling from Darkness back to my hand from my trash. Swings for 2 checks with Seraphimon, hits a Loimon, and another Tamer, Koichi. Koichi's effect triggers, draw 1, trash 1. And I trash a Koichi. And I trash the Koichi so I have a Tamer in there to play back from the Cherub. And he swings with Gazi, checks a Sala, and dies. It is nice that the Gazi's off the field now. He plays a TK for 2. And then plays a memory setting TK for 4 to put me to 3. And so he did get really aggressive on that turn, putting me to 1 security, but you guys will get to see the recovery that I have access to. So I swing into Taper with Sala to crash and draw from the Upamon. And then Sala recovers, and then he draws a card from Taper. And then I Digivolve my Koichi into Kaiser Leo, and then I gain Retaliation until the end of his turn. Go on Rihimon for 1, and then crash into his Seraphimon. I gain a memory off the Koichi effect, and then Rihimon puts the Koichi back into play, and then Koichi draws a card and trashes a card. And I go ahead and dump the Matt, just in case I want to play the Matt back from the Cherub that I go into, when and if I go into it. And right now I'm thinking here if I want to Calling from Darkness, because I can do that and do something else. And I'm thinking if I really want to tap my Mimi for that, because I don't want to give him more than 3 memory. And I know I'm going to hard drop the Sala, but I just hard drop the Sala. Put him to 3, and I'm pretty sure he can't kill me, because he would have to go to 6 memory in order to like hybrid out for game, and it's gonna be hard for him to do that if I have a 1 Mimi untapped on my side of the field. He plays a Zoe. He's also gone through quite a few hybrids. And then plays another TK, and then I go to 3 for my Matt. Hatch my last Upamon, Digivolve into a Sala. Nice swing with my Salamon for 2k. Cool Beans, check an Electmon, so Sala dies and I recover another security. And now I'm out of the danger zone. I'm not worried about him just like killing me randomly on his turn. Digivolve my Koichi into Kaiser Leo, and I gain Retaliation until the end of his turn. Digivolve into Rihi for 1, go to 0. And now I Digivolve into Cherub, put him to 4. Cherub effect, I play a Tamer. I'm going to play the Koichi from my trash. And then I'm going to draw one, trash one, and I'm going to trash another rookie that I would want to play back from the Cherub. That's one of the reasons why I like having at least one Koichi in the trash. I like having a mat in there as well in case I want to grab Calling from the Darkness out of my trash when I go into my Cherub. Those are the 2 Tamers you want in your trash for your Cherub plays. So now he's in a bit of a pickle. There's a very good chance that I just kill him on my turn. Whether he kills my Cherub or doesn't kill my Cherub. So he's going to go into a Susan by putting 10 hybrid / tamers from his trash to the bottom of his deck. And he says to him, he says to me like he doesn't really have a choice because he knows I have a Calling from Darkness in my hand anyway. Since he saw me add at least one back to my hand off the mat. So my Cherub's dying on my turn even if he doesn't kill it on his turn. So this is why another reason why he does this. Right, and he actually forgets to draw off the Digivolve, but I didn't see it, so I didn't remind him. I gain an extra memory off the Koichi on deletion effect, so I go to 4, which is nice. And I'm in a mode that I'm thinking like, oh, it's my turn, so I'm gonna grab all my Bushis. But then I'm like, wait, I don't need to grab my Bushis because it's his turn when he's popping it. I'm not popping it on my turn like I'm used to doing. So instead of grabbing the Bushis, I just grab the 3 Salamons in my trash and the 2 Bokos. And now the 2... And I actually forget to activate the 2 Bokomon's effects. It ultimately doesn't matter here, but I should have searched the top 10 cards in my deck. But I'm just not used to my Cherub dying on my opponent's turn very often. I Digivolve my Koichi on top of... Or I Digivolve my Koichi into a Kaiser, and I gain 2 extra memory from the double Bokos. And now I'm just swinging out here. Check a Wyverns. He almost targets my Kaiser, but then he's like, wait, you're going to gain an extra memory off that anyway. So he just pops one of the Bokos, and then I swing with the Sala, and then swing for game with the Boko. Yeah, so ultimately, the not searching the top 10 didn't matter there. I'm going to take game 1 pretty handily. This matchup is a test of patience, because you do not want to just try to kill them as quickly as possible, unless they just open up super slow. But those games are going to be few and far between. Like you basically just always want to do exactly what I was doing, which is poke here and there, and then but never really put them to below 4. Just keep them to where like they're not going to like 10 security. Until you see a TK and Kari. Once you see TK and Kari, you always just want to be the exact same as them. If they ever go above that, just poke them back down until you can just kill them in one turn. My opponent chooses to let me go first, game 2. Which actually in hybrid format, I think I prefer going first against another hybrid deck. It's like going first in this format against like a hybrid deck, it almost feels like you're 2 turns ahead of your opponent if you go first and open with a Tamer. And I hatch my Upa and Digivolve into my Event Pack 2 Bushiagumon. Then I play my Mimi and put him to 2. He hatches his Xiaomon and Digivolves into Gazimon. Plays a Boko to choke me to 1. He does get max value here. He has an option of 3 different hybrids, all 3 different hybrids in his deck, and then 1 TK and Kari. So he's obviously grabbing TK and Kari. Yeah, and I typically would add the level 5 as well to my hand off the Boko, just because you're essentially playing 8 level 4 hybrids, but you're only playing 4 level 5 hybrids, so that's my priority as well, unless I have like 2 of them already in my hand at that point. And I go ahead and promote, and I know he has a TK and Kari in his hand, so like I'm not going to poke him here. So I go ahead and just promote and then play Analog Youth to put him to 1, and then I mill 2 Tamers and an option card, so I don't get to add anything. That's not a big deal at all. Getting those Tamers in my trash is fine, and that option card can go to my hand whenever I want. So he just plays TK and Kari to pass turn, put me to 3. Totally fine with me. And now I get to choke him to 1 by playing my mat and grabbing my Calling from Darkness out of the trash. Seems fair. And then he digivolves into a Taper on top of his Zhao. And now he's going to digivolve his TK and Kari into a Kazumon. Goes into the Jet Sylphie and goes to 6 security. And then Seraphimon recovers again and goes to 7 security. So now I can poke him a little bit. I don't want to promote my Sala because I don't have any other yellow rookies in my hand. So I'm not going to be able to draw on the following turn. So that's why I don't promote it here. Because I'd prefer to have access to that recovery if I'm not going to get an extra draw off of the digivolving a rookie on the following turn. And I play a Bokomon. And I get to grab a Rihimon. The Rihimon is what I was missing on this turn. If I had had a Rihimon in my hand when I was still at 3 memory, I would have digivolved on top of my mat and started doing stupid things. Then I go ahead and just play a second Bokomon and put him to 3, dig a little deeper. We get to add another Rihimon, and then I get to add a Tamer. I'm going to go ahead and grab one of the Mimis. Mimi is definitely the one you want to put multiples of on the field. Once I have 1 Analog Youth, I might as well have 2, so I don't really see a need to grab that. And then I already have access to a Koichi and a Mat, so I don't need to grab a Mat or anything. He swings with Taper, checks a Broko and dies, draws a card from Taper. He swings for 2 checks with Seraphimon and survives both of them. The only thing Seraphi dies to in my deck is actually Cherub, I'm pretty sure. So that's a pretty safe double check there. Because we don't have any removal in the main deck that kills him. So he'd have to check a Digimon. So he plays a Zoe and adds a hybrid. Then plays another TK and Kari and puts me to 4. Alright, now I have a yellow rookie, so I'm promoting. Also, I'm at 2 security, so I'm promoting the Sala. So this is a turn where I definitely get punished. I saw Jack Raid game 1, and it actually basically nullified one of my turns when I swung with the Bushi and it just passed turn, because I was going to play Tamer. So I swung into security with Sala. And what I should have done there is swung into the Seraphimon to guarantee it dying, and also not risking checking a Jack Raid. And like it keeps me from doing a lot of stuff. Like if I hadn't done that, I would have been able to Loemon on top of my mat, and then Kaiser Leomon on top of my mat, or on top of my Loemon to gain retaliation. And then Rihimon on top of that to crash into the Seraphimon with retaliation, then I'd be able to play the mat back. But when I lost the 2 memory there, I couldn't do that anymore. So like I couldn't do anything to really protect myself from the Seraphimon, which is unfortunate. So I played the Calling, popped the Salamon, add back the Rebellion, and recover from the Salamon. And I tap the Mimi to where I don't lose memory. And this is what I'm forced to do since I can't do the Loemon, Kaiser Leo, Rihimon play. Is I have to waste my memory setter. And Digivolve Kaiser on top of Matt, and then go into Rebellimon. And I discard my Bushi. So what I have to hope here is that I check a Schwartz in security. If I don't check a Schwartz, I just lose. And it has to be like one of the first 2 checks as well, or one of the first... yeah. One of the first 2 checks. Because if it's a 3rd check, it's not going to matter. So I got super punished by swinging to security and risking checking a Jack raid. I should have thought about that before I just swung with my Salamon into security. So instead of trying to aggress me, he actually just plays it safe and just Shine Greymons me, which is smart. And he kills the Rebelli, one of the Bokos. I tap Analog Youth to gain an extra memory to go to 5, since my Rebellimon died. And now he has 2 Digimon on the field that have Security Tech +1. So right here, I could go into Cherub with Rebellimon underneath. But it's still not going to keep me from dying since he has 2 different Digimon with Security Tech +1. So I swing with the Boko, check another Jack raid. Cool. So now I can't even Cherub. The only thing I can do is Rebellimon. I Calling from Darkness my Boko and add back the Rebelli and the Kaiser Leo back to my hand. And then I Rebellimon and trash the Bushi. But now it doesn't matter. Even if I had Cherub here, it still wouldn't have mattered. The second Jack raid ultimately didn't really make a difference. I mean, Cherub would have killed... Actually, yeah, Cherub Rebelli would have kept me from losing this game. Or at least on this turn, most likely. Because I killed both of his... Yeah, it only killed 1 rookie. So yeah, it still wouldn't have mattered. It was just insult to injury. He swings with the Shine, I block it, doesn't really matter. I tap Analog to gain a memory, whatever. And then he checks a Calling from Darkness as last check, and then swings with Boko for game. So I do lose game 2. Definitely got punished really hard there for risking checking a Jack raid. I found out after the match that he was actually only playing 2 Jack raids, and both of them happened to be in security that game, so that was unfortunate. But the second one ultimately didn't matter. It was the first one that caused me to lose the game, but it was my own fault for allowing that to even be possible. Alright, and since I lost game 2, I get to decide who goes first, and I'm going to choose to go first for game 3. Like I said, I think going first when it's hybrid versus hybrid is definitely the play. Unless you're terrified of bricking, but if you play enough anti-brick cards, it shouldn't be a huge issue. So I played the Mimi, and he digivolves into Taper, and then plays TK, and then digivolves into Zephyrmon. So he kind of opens poorly based on that play. He's just trying to get some cycle and get some new cards. I play a Koichi to choke him to 1, draw 1, trash 1, and I'm going to trash the Cherub. I don't need Cherub in my hand until like I'm actually going to go into him, and I have a Calling from Darkness in my hand, so like I have access to him whenever I want. He swings the Taper, checks a second Mimi, really cool, and then goes into Rise, puts me to 2, and then activates Rise Greymon's effect to play TK and Kari. I have the ability to do something kind of cool here. So I Calling from Darkness, pay 1, and then tap both Mimis to go back to 3. Add the Cherub back to my hand from the Calling. And then I Digivolve into Kaiser Leo. Digivolve into Rihi. And I have Retaliation out until the end of his turn. And then I swing over the Taper. He draws a card from the Taper. And then I activate Analog Youth to look at the top 3 and add a Digimon. And I add the Rebellion. And now I have a Koichi in my trash and a Loemon. And I can grab any of those cards besides the Koichi whenever I want just by playing that mat. And he goes into Seraphimon, puts me to 1 and recovers. And now he's at 6 security. And I see a Bushi, get to Digivolve on my Tama. And I swing for 7k at security, check a Zoe. Zoe triggers, and it gets to add a Jet Sylphimon out of his security. My Rihimon no longer has retaliation, but I would gain 2 memory and get the Koichi back if he ran over it on his turn. So like I would be super okay with that. And if he runs it over, it's him not checking 2 security cards. So that's another reason why that's not a big deal. Then I play a mat, puts him to 3, and then I get to add back that Calling from Darkness to my hand. And now I have a guaranteed 3 memory to start my next turn. It's going to let me do some pretty cool stuff. He swings security for 2 checks from the Seraphimon's effect since he does not have the Rise Greymon's extra check yet since he only has 2 yellow tamers. I questioned why he didn't run over my Rihimon, but I'm about to find out why. I didn't say it out loud, but I was just like, why didn't he run over my Rihi? He plays the Schwartz, pays 6, puts me to 3. I tap my analog, tap both Mimis, and gain an extra memory off the Koichi. So I go to 7, and then my Koichi goes back to play because of my Rihimon effect, so I get to draw 1, trash 1. I trash the Bokomon. And that's before I even have to start my turn. So like he just gave me 7 memory to start my turn, which definitely wasn't his intention. So now I get to do really fun stuff with that 7 memory on my turn. So go ahead and promote my Bushi. And I swing security, trigger Upa, draw a card, check a Schwartz, which is pretty nice. That's 2 Schwartz out of his deck that I don't have to worry about anymore. I could have risked a Jack Raid check there. That's why I swung. Because I can still out his Seraphimon. Even if I check a Jack Raid there. I activate Calling, go to 6. Add the Kaiser Leo and the Rihi. And then I tap both Mimis to go back to 8. So now I'm at 8 memory. This is another reason why I really love Mimi in this deck. The Mimis are off camera now, but I have 2 and I tapped them to do that. They go into Kaiser Leomon for 2. Go into Rihimon for 1. And then Digivolve into Cherub to go to 1. Activate Cherub's effect. And I play the Koichi to my field, then activate Koichi's effect to draw 1, trash 1. I'm going to trash the Bushi. And then I get to swing over the Seraphimon for 12k. It's dead. If I want. So I have an option of either playing a Mimi to choke him to 1, or since I don't have a Calling from Darkness in my hand, playing the mat I have in my hand to add back that Calling from Darkness to guarantee that I can pop my Cherub on my turn. So since I'm not super concerned about his ability to kill me, I go ahead and add the Calling and give him 3 memory. So he goes into Zephyr on top of his Zoe for 2. Goes into Jet Sylphy for 1, recovers 1, goes back to 5. And then goes into Seraphimon and goes back to 6 security. Alright, and let's see what I can do. I have 6 Tamers on the field with my Cherub. Go ahead and Digivolve my Sala. I swing security for 12k. Check a Boko, and even with the buff from the Zoe and the Zephyrmon, he's still only 8k, so does not kill my Cherub, sadly, so I'm going to have to pop it myself. I think for a moment about activating the Koichi to draw 1 and then trash a 3rd Bokomon, but I decide against it. It's kind of unnecessary. And also, in that scenario, like if I check a jack raid or multiple jack raids, like I might pass turn when I'm swinging to security. So I activate calling. I'm going to add back the reheat and the Kaiser. Pay 1 for the calling. Koichi deletion effect triggers, gain 1, and then analog youth effect triggers, gain another 1. So I'll go back to 4. And I think for a moment if I want to tap my Mimis, but I decide against it because I don't need the extra memory this turn. I just want to leave them in play. And I get to play 2 Bokos, 2 Bushis, and a Sala back to my field from Cherubimon deletion effect. Since I have 6 Tamers, but only have 5 rookies in trash, so I can just get to play back all of them. And then my Bokos both trigger, so I look at the top 5, add 1 hybrid, 1 Tamer for each Boko. I'm never going to forget to activate their effects when I pop my Cherub on my turn. It was just when my opponent popped it, I just completely forgot about it, since it was still his turn. Then I go ahead and Digivolve into Kaiser Leo just to get an extra 2 memory to go to 6 before I start swinging into security. And this is kind of risky here, but I'm going to go ahead and put a Rebellion on the field. Because the thought here is I'm going to Cherub him and choke him to 1. I also get to dump that other Pokemon on my trash, but I'm going to Cherub him and choke him to 1. I check the memory setting TK with the first Bushi check, so now I can't choke him to 1. It's not a huge deal, it just would have been nice if I could have choked him 1 there. The swing with the other Bushi, I do check a Digimon, so we do die there. And since I can't choke him to 1, I'm going to give him 3 memory. And to do that, I'm going to play a Mimi to go to 1. And then I get to Cherub, put him to 3, and then I get to activate Cherub's effect, play the Koichi, draw 1 trash 1, and I get to put another Bushi in my trash. So now I have a 12k Cherub with Retaliation and Blocker, and he has 3 memory to work with, and he needs to kill me on his turn, or I'm definitely going to kill him on my turn. I have 3 Mimis untapped on my field, just keep that in mind since they're off screen. He swings the Seraphimon, and before he did that, he says I either win here or I lose here, so I thought that he had forgotten that my Cherub had Blocker, but that wasn't what he forgot. He forgot the 3 Mimis I had on my field. So he activates Jack Raid to go to 4, and then I tap all 3 Mimis and put him back to 1. So now he has no chance of trying to lethal me on this turn. So his plan was to Jack Raid, go to 4, and then swing with Gazi, go into a hybrid swing, and then go into another hybrid and swing for game. But sadly, he forgot about Mimi. He forgot about Dre. 3 Mimis on the field is very powerful. I go ahead and swing with my Bushi, swing with my Sala, draw from Upa. I do check a Wyverns, but he does not want to kill my Cherub since my Cherub would play back a bunch of Bushi Agumons and stuff. So he targets a Boko with the Wyverns. Swing with my Sala, and I do check a Schwartz. It kills all my rookies, but my Cherub dodges it. Ultimately, it didn't matter there. If he had killed my Cherub, I would have put a whole bunch of dudes on the field. And the Schwartz wouldn't have done anything either because I had a hybrid in my hand for game. So I do take the match 2-1. Probably should have been 2-0 if I just didn't risk checking the Jack Raid in game 2. But, you know, those things happen. You live and you learn. But I do appreciate you guys stopping by. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're interested in this kind of content and want to come back for more. But until next time, see ya.